Hey everyone, welcome back to another Zwift race announcement video. Today we're going to be talking about the Stage 4 race Scotland, and this is going to be the city and the Sker course, and this is actually my second time riding this course, and only my second time riding in Scotland since I have not been doing much lifting lately, so I was still pretty fresh to this course, and I basically knew the following. I knew that there were three main climbs in the course. There was going to be the forward climb, then you were going to come back up to the reverse, and then it finishes up the forward climb. I also did watch the UCI Esports World Champs, so I do know some from that. So I was ready to do this race, and I kind of hopped on last minute, and it turns out that Eric Don't Get Dropped Cycling was also in this race, so that was pretty cool, and you can go ahead and check out his video. I have that linked in the description below, so be sure to check that out because it will give you a view from his point of view, and he actually ended up coming in a bit ahead of me, so it kind of gives you a view of his pretty strong attack that he had about 3/4 of the way through the race. Real quick, please hit that like and subscribe button because it really helps support the channel, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so thanks. Alright, so something that I really want people who are watching to pay attention to is the splits that occur throughout this race. And these splits are very important because that's kind of where riders tend to get dropped and lose the pack, and I feel that especially on this course, it's really important. And I noticed this a lot when I was watching the World Champs because riders, if they just got even a little bit separated, they were just completely out of the race. So I want you all to take a look at this part right here, and you're going to see that the group immediately stretches out. I start out pretty slow, while some of the riders are attacking off the front. You can see that there's already a rider 1 or 2 seconds ahead already because it is a gravel climb and it is a climb, so it's going to be pretty easy to get some separation. A lot of riders already using their feather power-ups. I personally thought that was a terrible idea because the feather power-up is very powerful and you should really be using it towards the end when riders are going to put in an extra kick. So I decided to save mine because I knew that these riders would likely get dropped in the end, and the riders who are using it right now are either riders who are not as strategic or riders who are simply struggling to stick with the group. And you're going to see that the group is insanely strung out. Just looking at that mini map, it is already like split in half at least, and half the riders are already off the back, struggling to hold on, and it is now into the top 13 riders at the moment, and these are going to be the riders who will be competing for the top 13. Pretty much nobody's going to be catching back up or coming up to the front to really take a lead or make any significant moves in this race. Something that I also knew about this course is that there are a lot of short punches like this part, and this is when riders just go into those orange numbers and they just start pounding on the pedals, and that's kind of what got me separated here. And you can see that I'm already off the back a bit. I'm starting to dangle off the back like the rest of the riders around me, and I can see that there is a rider off the front pushing the pace, and I am starting to lose the group. I feel like this is almost it, and I feel like I'm pretty much dropped. But then right here on this short bit, I turn on my feather power up and I actually ease off slightly because I know that it does appear that I am catching up, so I can ease off, and I really want to take the most advantage of this power up as possible. I don't want to fly past them because then I'll be out of the draft, and that's something really important, is that you don't want to be too powerful when using a power up. You kind of want to time it perfectly and hold a steady power so that you don't just go flying through the riders, especially with power-ups like the arrow boost. You're going to end up just burning it, and you're not going to save as much energy as you would if you were just drafting. So back to a nice group of around, I'd say 7 riders-ish, and there are currently a few riders off the front. You can see that Eric is just up the road. He is in around 4th place right now, and I'm trying to stay near him because I know that I'm at a relatively similar level to him. I haven't been doing as much Zwifting recently, so he's probably going to have the edge in terms of Zwiftiness and some of that power. So he is still up the road, and I don't know any of these other riders, but I do notice that there are tons of Canadians out here, and I'd say that I think there were 6 riders all on the leaderboard ahead of me at one point in this race, so that was very interesting. Hardly any Americans here in this race, even though it was at a time zone where mostly Americans are normally Zwifting, but that's besides the point. And back to the point about kind of sticking with the group and knowing when to chase an attack and when not to chase attack, because I feel like some of these riders definitely could have followed that attack that went off the front, but everyone was kind of just caught sleeping because that rider did have such a strong move, and it's really hard to catch back up to a rider, and you're going to see that happen later on in this race when I'm trying to chase Eric. Eric does go off the front a bit, and I feel like he's almost going to bridge up to that front group, but they are just a bit out of reach, so it all ends up coming back together. And this part is another important part of the course, because you really want to have a really good draft going once you hit this ascent, because if you start losing the draft, you are going to find yourself trying to really sprint and catch back up like you saw me just do earlier, and you really want to stay right next to those riders, because something happened in UCI Worlds, and that will likely happen in ZRL Finals, which does utilize the Anvil power-up, is that riders start using the Anvil power-up and they just go flying down the climb, and if you don't have a solid draft on them, you are not going to do well, and you're just going to end up losing the group, which is a complete disaster. Alright, fast forward a bit to that second climb. So heading up this next side, it is a shorter climb, so I was expecting a bit of a higher power on this climb, and you can see that some riders are already using their feather boost, and that includes Eric from Don't Get Dropped Cycling. Be sure to check out his channel, and you can see that my heart rate is already up to the 190s, so I am already suffering, and I am really desperate to just hold on to those wheels. I see those riders start to drift away, and that's when I kind of know that this is all kind of falling apart, and I am now left battling for 9th at worst and around 6th at best. So I can see the riders still in the distance, and right here you can see that I start to get closer to the next rider, and I see that I just like go past him pretty quickly, and I turn on my featherweight boost, and intending to kind of bridge up to that next group, because I feel like I already have some momentum going, but I get up to 1 second behind. But as I said earlier, you gotta be on those wheels by the time the descent hits, and once the descent hit, I was not ready for that, and I kind of just fell off the back. And you can see that this was kind of led to more disaster, and you can see that the rider in the Arena Games kit just went right by me. So did Eric, and I was kind of expecting that, but then I didn't quite see the full effects of it before it actually happened, so I was kind of caught off guard, and I found myself sprinting over and over again, because all I needed was a 5-second solid sprint to really get back on terms, but I didn't end up doing that. I was kind of just doing small 2-second bursts, and that was not enough to really bridge me back, so I ended up doing a longer sprint to really solidify my position in that group. Honestly, that poor usage of power ended up costing me quite a bit, and I felt my legs pretty heavy when I came into this final climb, and I was kind of just staying off the back, letting the other riders do the work, because I was just trying to save all the energy I could for this finish. And going into this climb in the 190s right now for heart rate, and so far I am staying with these riders a bit, and then you can see that Eric is just going to put in a massive attack anytime now, and you're going to see that he's going to jump to 8 watts per kilo, turns on his featherweight, and he just really takes advantage of the steeper part of the climb, and he just goes. And I try to follow without using my power up, because I know that I can probably get him on the line if I do use my power up then, but then I just have absolutely nothing left, and I'm just battling, and I realize that I can't catch him, so I do turn on my featherweight boost. I end up burning that, and you can see that up this really steep bit, I do catch another rider, so I still am in contention for 6th place. Eric is going on to 5th place, and he's almost going to catch that lead group, which is really impressive. And I'm kind of just battling here, and I kind of underestimated how long this race is actually going to be, with still 0.4 miles away. And I am just battling all the way to the end. I can still see Eric in the distance, so I'm actually thinking that there is a chance that I could catch him. I've kind of stopped worrying about the riders behind me, but that ends up costing me later. And you can see that my power is slowly starting to fade, even based off that power graph. You can see that I am dropping into zone 5 instead of the zone 6 that I was in previously, and I'm kind of in 160 to 170 range, really just trying to hold on as much as possible. Final 800 feet, and then you can see that this rider just comes right over the top, and then I kind of latch on his wheel, but not quite enough, because when he puts on those orange numbers, I just have nothing left to follow this attack, and I end up losing it on the line, and I do end up just soft pedaling to the line, because I have absolutely nothing left at this point. Honestly, I personally think that I actually do enjoy these types of races where it is a harder bit, and then you have some time to just chill. But I think that, as I said earlier, I kind of just played the race wrong, and I probably should have been saving my energy in different places, and I probably should have been really on top of those gaps to really make sure nothing happened. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, and be sure to check out Don't Get Dropped Cycling's video of this race. Ride on.